Hey, what is going on, guys? I'm Mario, and today's video we're going to continue with the same topology topic that we talked about last time. So here I have an example where we have a problem, basically a pinching problem, and I just want to cover a couple of things, what went wrong and how we could prevent something like this from happening in the future. So we're going to use the same things, basically the same rules of the workflow that we used in the previous videos. So what we talked about last time is that once we need to start an object like this, we will just focus on the minimum number of points, edges, polygons that we need to begin with. So we'll not think too much out of adding edges. So only once that surface is established, then we're going to try and even out the edge distribution all across the surface more or less equally or evenly. And then we're going to add supportive edges where we need them to be. And then finally, we're going to play around with the edges to see if we can avoid problems like this. So basically the problem here is that, as you can see, we have this relatively relaxed area going into an area of a high tension, which means that this one point has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 edges going into this one single point, while this area is fairly relaxed. So basically that just means that the area in between the relaxed area and the area of high tension will have this sort of a pinching result. Now, in some situations that this might be something that you're aiming for if part of the surface requires geometry like this, but in this case it's really not working for us. So this would be one other example. If you remember, in previous video we talked about borrowing edges from already established surfaces, or curves in this case. So here we have a curve which is relatively smooth and fairly circular, and same thing it was right here. And if you notice this edge, it's basically borrowed from its middle and pushed a bit down. This is done simply because we were trying to make this area look a bit more sharper. So again, there is just a bit more elegant way to deal with it. So we're gonna go through this right now. And let's add the cylinder. Oh, and one thing maybe about cylinders, depending on the number of details. So I just want to share my numbers. I usually go between 24 and 32. I usually use 32 if I really need some details on my surface later, and 24 if I know that this cylinder will not hold any details. So it's just, I try to keep them between those two numbers. So let's just increase this a bit, and then I can rotate it like so, remove the grid, and then we can now extrude the faces that we need. I think it was something like this, and this will do. So this will be our step one. Just use enough points, edges, polygons to establish the surface. Once surface is established, let's think about even distribution of edges. So we have a problem here where this edge and this edge are not evenly sized. So this one is fairly similar to this one, but both of them are fairly different from this one. And the thing is, we just need to even those out. And the reason for that is, if I now show you, for example, this, we now, let's say I want to add supportive edges to here, to this area, but it's now selected this edges. And if I now go to bevel and decide to bevel this, you will see that this edges here will try to intersect and just bevel will stop. While this area again is still fairly large. And this is the areas that we are trying to avoid. So the next thing that we need to do is just even these edges out. Oh, and one other thing I just want to say real quick, that this general principle is not specific to any software. So if you're using Cinema 4D, Blender, or any other, you can still follow along. It really doesn't matter. So one other thing I would like to mention here now, if I decide to move this edge up, so I want to slide it, you will see again what we're using is just borrowing this edge from this already established surface, and that we do not want. So what I would need to do here is just add one or a couple of more actually supportive edges, just in case. So I can actually finish it with the bridge here and just twist it. So now when we have this supportive edge, what I can do is now I can slide it up, and you will see that this structure will now have the supportive edge and actually will hold this structure in one place, and only this small area will move. So this was our plan. So let me just organize this quickly a bit better. So we're now aiming for even edge distribution of the surface, so that more or less all edges are evenly spaced out. All right, I think that will do. And one other thing here I would like to quickly mention is that you notice here this shading break. Well, basically you can fix that if you just select the object and go to soften harden, and I go usually to soften harden, and I just want to share that I use 45-degree angle, and that usually fixes it like so. All right, so now that we have this sorted all out, we can start thinking about adding more edges so that we even out the areas that are, again, still not even out. So let's say that this will do. And now we can start thinking about adding supportive edges where we want them. So basically whatever we want to have a bit more sharper, we'll add supportive edge. So I'm just going to bevel this real quick. Like that. All right. So if I subdivide this might be fine. So if you, let's say, decide, okay, this is what I want to do, you're probably done, let's say, for this area. But what we wanted to do originally is make one edge here and one edge here, so that this transition, this area is just appearing a bit sharper. But if we do it like this, by adding two edges, this one might still be fine, but this one is not, simply because, as you can see, it will again destroy that curve or the structure that we built. So this is not a solution for this. And also, wherever we can, we should avoid adding edges all across the surface, just for the sake of increasing, I'll just decrease this a bit, just for the sake of giving a sharper corner, because there are, again, different ways how we can tackle this. All right, so let me just add quickly here more, maybe one more. If you remember in the last video, so if you didn't check that video, feel free to do so. And what we talked there is that, let's say that this is a sort of a road or something where you walk on. So if you would walk here on this red surface, your head would point, let's say if you come to this point and you're walking here, your head would point in this direction. So it basically points in the same direction where this edge is. If you come here, and again, your head would point here. If you come here, let's say walk, and your head is here, so basically walking this direction, again, your head would point in this direction. So just something to keep in mind. If we now check this area, if we would walk around this and our head would pointing down, more or less, yeah, this would be, let's say, the direction that we would point. But what actually we need is when we come to this. So let me just quickly create my point. So what we need is, sometimes also I like to, so when I was just starting, when I was not sure how to add things, what I did is just I would add the edges that I'm pretty sure that I know that I need. So basically these are the edges that I pretty sure know that I need, and I just need to now solve the area where to connect them. So we have here enough area to work around with. If I would now think, so let's say we are working here and the head is down. If I come to this point, the head would point in this direction. So we have some wiggle room. So basically what we can do is maybe we can use this edge and connect it here. And if I would come to this point right here, as you can notice, this would be your head pointing to here, to this point. And same thing here. So as I mentioned in the previous video, 2 points need to meet somewhere. And by that logic, we can just connect it here. So basically, if you come to this point, to this edge, if you walk around or stand still, your head would point in this direction up to here. But since these 2 points need to meet somewhere, they are meeting right here. The problem is now that we have 2 triangles, and to solve those triangles, we can see a clear pattern here. So this point, if it goes to here, this point can also come here. And basically we now solved this area, and we now solved this area. The only thing now that is left are these 2 edges that became extra, and this then should be our solution. I just hope that makes sense. So again, if you just imagine yourself, let me make it even more clear maybe. If we would now again imagine ourselves walking here, but from the bottom down, and this is a gravity center, our head is pointing this direction. I hope that you can see the pattern. So this would be your head. Whatever you step on, this would be. So I just hope that makes sense, and how we managed to sort out this this edge flow. And now we have this nice and smooth, nice and sharp transition with nice and clean geometry with supportive edges wherever where we need them to be. And yeah, no, this is not the only solution. I just want to come back, and so let's say that you do not want sharp transition, but you would like to have it a bit more softer as we had before. So let me just go a couple of steps back, and let me now just remove a couple of edges here. This can remove as well. All right, so let's for example say that I want to have an edge here, but for some reason I need it that all of them are, let's say like so, because I need specific detail that goes in this area that I really need this edge flow. It's still fine, and I don't want to have any edges here. So what we can do is connect this to here, actually to here, and then I can connect it to here. Then we have this solution, and then we have a triangle, and this triangle we can simply resolve by adding an edge loop. And then if you would organize this better, you would just have this diamond shape right here. So this is just another example on how you could manipulate, let's say, how much smoothness you want to have in this area. So yeah, more or less, this would be it regarding to this example. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to post them down in the comment section below, and I'll be glad to answer them all if I can. And also, in addition, just I would like to mention that we do have a Discord Discord channel where you can ask or post similar examples. And again, I'll be glad to help out if I can. So thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a nice day. Cheers.